Welcome, recently deceased. Beetlejuice is about to premiere at the Venice Film Festival and open in theaters. So we thought, what better time than to wind the clock back to 1988 and ride the sandworms to see the original Beetlejuice.
It's showtime. Learn to throw your voice, fool your friends, fun and party.
I really loved this movie when I was younger. This is something we like to do around here all the time with our Was It Great or Were You 8 series. Go back and look at films from our youth to see, do we still love them? Are they still indeed great, or do we just feel nostalgically about this? Neither of us was 8 when Beetlejuice came out. It was my junior year in high school. I was like 16, not quite 16.
Yeah, I was a senior in college, but I remember taping the Danny Elfman score on vinyl, and I remember putting it on cassette and driving around to it all the time.
Wow, that's what the kids would do. You'd put like a microphone up to the boombox.
That wasn't that bad.
Which is fitting for how low tech the special effects are here, even though it did win an Oscar for its makeup.
Yes.
So yes, this is a signature Michael Keaton role. He'll be back for the sequel as well. This is like so early Tim Burton, right? The whole combination of Tim Burton with the Danny Elfman score. It is after Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but before Batman.
Right.
Also Michael Keaton. It's wild to think like the next year they would all reteam for Batman, which is so different.
Yeah. You don't look at this movie and think, yes, you, superhero franchise. But then we didn't really have superhero franchises back then. So,
Yes, it shows, the range available to us here. So Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis are a married couple living in a old kind of architecturally fascinating house. I think it's upstate New York. No, it's Connecticut. They're in Connecticut.
They say Connecticut. Yeah.
They're in Connecticut. And so they're home and they're doing renovations and they're just this deliriously happy couple. Like I'd forgotten how long that whole intro is. Right? Of the two of them, like working in the attic and kissing and cuddling and joking around with each other. I'd forgotten how long it takes them to get dead.
Yeah.
So they go to town to go to the hardware store that he owned, and they have a little accident when they try to swerve to avoid hitting a dog, and they go off a bridge and they die. But they don't know they're dead yet. It takes a little bit of time. And I was struck this time by just like the understatement of the delivery and how matter of fact they are about the discovery that they are actually dead. And they are kind of fascinated by it. Like, wow, we can't see our reflections, and whoa, they can't hear us. And just not like, oh my God, I'm dead. Like there's no melodrama to it at all. It's played for totally straight laughs. So I enjoyed that about it. And then a family moves in sometime after they have died, and it's Winona Ryder and her family, and Catherine O'Hara is of course the mom, and Jeffrey Jones is the father.
Stepmom.
And that's right, she's a stepmom. That's right. This is important. So this is also a signature Winona Ryder role. This kind of helps like define her entire persona for decades to come, as far as being like cynical and wise beyond her years, and like embracing the goth darkness of her persona, but there's still like a cuteness about her. She is also in the Beetlejuice sequel. So it's how she can see them. And she kind of helps them haunt the house because she's not happy there either. And so it's the whole rigmarole of them trying to haunt the house. But they need the help of Beetlejuice. They reluctantly turn to him. And of course, this is like so much of what is so great about Michael Keaton. The fact that he will go there physically, that there's a larger than life kind of frantic quality about it, but then it's also like fine tuned and really specific and really controlled. And those swings are thrilling to watch. And just all the different stuff with the visual effects of different manifestations of Beetlejuice are so much fun. So I really enjoyed rewatching this. I watched it with Nick. He saw it when he was little and did not remember a thing about it, but like instantly Michael Keaton comes on, he's like, I love this guy because he's totally obnoxious, but he's like, and he's crass and like kind of borderline like groping and sexually assaulting Gina Davis's character. But he's so funny and ultimately so hapless, like so not good at what he's doing that you kind of, think he's adorable for it. So I had a good time watching this. Also shocked to discover in retrospect that it is rated PG.
Yeah, actually, Matt Singer at Screen Crush did a whole list of movies you can't believe are rated PG, and he didn't include Can't Stop the Music, which has full frontal male nudity and Valerie Perine's breasts in it. So the list goes on.
It was a different time.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I remember Pauline Kael reviewing this and talking about how it's like a Marx Brothers movie in that when Michael Keaton isn't on screen, you're waiting for him to come back on screen. I don't know that I entirely agree with that, but the movie does definitely really kick into high when he's there doing his thing. And there's less of him in it than you'd think. Because you're right, it does take a while for them to be dead. And then there's so much, like, watching this again, I was sort of fascinated at, like, what kind of a mess it is in a way, in terms of, like, there's so many different tones and characters, and like there's both a lot of plot and then it also seems like a series of sketches, but it works. I mean, it's fun. I had a really good time watching it, but I realized that it's such a shambles along the way that it is, of course, the perfect thing to have led to both a TV cartoon and a Broadway musical, because there's just these pieces and you can sort of do with them what you will, and that's kind of what's happening here. So you've got like the Gina Davis, Alec Baldwin story. You've got the Winona Ryder, her own thing and kind of creating herself on screen before your eyes. You've got Catherine O'Hara and Jeffrey Jones's stuff with the visitors from New York with Dick Cavett and Robert Goulet.
So random.
And David Byrne's then girlfriend, like just this weird motley mix of people. You've got like Sylvia Sidney's, just a caseworker. I mean, just so they just throw a lot of things at the screen, but it all kind of comes together because you do have that wonderful early Tim Burton stop motion, analog CG. I hope we get some of that, or not analog CG, that doesn't make sense. Analog animation, the stop motion animation. I hope we get some practical effects in the new Beetlejuice, and it's not just all, a mass of ones and zeros. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is one of those movies that shouldn't work, but does, because it kind of flails out in a whole bunch of different directions, but somehow they manage to like tie it all together. So yeah, it is fun and it's brash and it's it's throwing a lot of things at the wall. And if something doesn't hit, the next thing will, So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I think the rollicking nature of it is the point and is the charm of it, that it is both trying to be kind of futuristic in its production design, like with the furnishings and her terrible sculptures and all that. But then it's very like rough hewn with the stop motion stuff, which probably still in its day was pretty high tech back then.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And, like it is so like detailed, like broad and bizarre, but like detailed. Like when the little eyes go inside of her tongue and her little head, like it's cute, but also kind of terrifying. And we saw
a whole conversation that way.
Yeah, we saw a bit of this with Pee-wee's Big Adventure too, with like the Large Marge section. So and of course Frankenweenie,
and you can see some
part of him,
right? And you can see like ideas that he'll work out even further in like Nightmare Before Christmas in terms of creating the design for it for Henry Selick to then animate,
Yeah. And then one thing I've noticed this time was in the waiting room in the purgatory going to see Sylvia Sidney, like each of those people who has died, like they each tell a story without saying a single word sometimes. Yeah. Like you can tell how this person has died. You can tell how they probably lived before then. And they accomplish so much just with like costume design and with makeup and with the visual effects. I thought was really cool. And the whole bit with the sad, dumb football players who don't know that they're dead. Like there's just, I think all those little things, which feel like throwing a lot of stuff at a wall to see what sticks.
Yeah.
A lot of them really, really work. And it's really short. And then it wraps up in a way that maybe feels tidy, but it's so efficient and satisfying to find that she finds her own little makeshift family, people who really understand her and really support her and really care about her, is oddly touching given how extreme everything is prior to that. Just comforting in the ending of it.
I think weirdly enough, that aspect of it is probably a more successful stab at a Roald Dahl type story than his actual Roald Dahl adaptation, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, was. Like, there's a little bit of Matilda there in terms of like her actual dad seems perfectly fine with letting these ghosts raise her because he's got other things on his mind, and her stepmother certainly is not particularly interested in being a maternal influence for her. So they're like, oh, what, the ghosts want to raise her? Sure, great. We'll be over here doing our thing, Yeah, I mean, in a way, this almost has kind of the anarchic sensibility of something like Hell's a Poppin', where they're just like, it's just about going for the gag and all right, okay, it's the afterlife. What do we do with that? How can we make that witty? What jokes can we find with it? The guy who's like was run over by a car, and the fact that he has his own like rope pulley system and he goes between the shelves.
That's very clever.
It is endlessly inventive, and so that you're right. I think maybe just it is the chaos of it all that is the point of it, and is why it's as fun to watch as it is. So, it'll be interesting to see if Beetlejuice can pull this off, because I suspect this is the kind of movie that maybe Warner Brothers was maybe only half paying attention to, like David Geffen was shepherding it through. Like, it's the kind of thing you can imagine being picked apart by studio notes. And so I hope that this new one isn't reflective of that current kind of mentality that's happening with big sort of franchisee sequels. Also, I haven't really liked a Tim Burton movie since Frankenweenie, maybe?
I mean, this is so the distillation of his ethos, like the goth carnival weirdness of it all, but it's like playful, but also scary.
Yes.
This is so like, this is him concentrated.
Yes.
And so, will that get distilled somehow? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one would have said, oh, well, yes, Dark Shadows, completely up his alley. It's exactly the kind of thing you should be doing, So I hope he still has it in him to do this kind of movie the way he did it the first time. But, we'll find out, I guess.
We will. If you are going to stay up late trying to haunt your own house or somebody else's, you can enjoy coffee from our friends at Coffee Brothers. They have new packaging. I love their new packaging. It's really cool and sleek and minimalist. I like the old bags, but these are like, look at this. Look how like chic and minimalist that is. We have a deal with our friends at Coffee Brothers. Take 15% off of your order with our code breakfast15. We enjoyed the espresso roast this morning. It was delicious. Your shipping is free with orders of at least $50. So go and check them out. What is your number on Beetlejuice? Do we dare give numbers to Beetlejuice?
I don't even know. No, I'm not doing. We'll give a number to Beetlejuice. But this one, it's had like 36 years to slosh around in our collective consciousness. So who can even say at this point? But yeah, still holds up. And I think that if you have kids and like they're going to watch it for the first time and prepping for the sequel, I dare say they'll have a good time too.
I think so too, even though there is like, there's an F-bomb, there's like the bordello of dead people, there's a lot of stuff that's a little grown up, but still it's so goofy and playful that maybe it'll go over their heads. I am, having rewatched this, I am really excited now for Beetlejuice. I think it's going to be fun, and the second trailer gives me hope that it's going to be good. So we will have a review for that as soon as we can. So keep an eye out, and we'll see you real soon.